and welcome to another edition of Pulp Picks. My name is Patrick.
I'm Fritz.
And we're here to give you this week's reading recommendations on New Comic Book Day. And, you know, sometimes you and I talk about a new book that's coming out by, you know, often an indie publisher that we're really excited to see. And sometimes they're just not quite what we expect. And then there are other times where they're really cool. And this week we've got an example of that.
Yeah. So, my pick this week is Lilith issue 1 from Vault Comics. So this is a new series by Corn. Let me make sure I get that right. Corn Howell. She's done some art for like others. She's done some Marvel stuff. She's mostly done some like other indie stuff. There was the Barbaric spin-off miniseries Queen of Swords. What was that, earlier this year, last year that came out?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, like that. So she's definitely been doing a bunch, but like what really got her like big online was she created this character Lilith, like just started like making art of her, and kind of from there just like things escalated until we got this comic. And to kind of give like the long and short of it, Lilith is this demon stuck in the human world.
Not from hell per se.
Yeah, she kind of gets into it in the book that I'm what you would call a demon. Like it's not exactly like traditionally like how you think of it, but like she definitely does like, I guess you could call it demonic things. Like there's a reason the tagline on the back of here is "She'll chew you up." Like,
yeah, she's got a line something like she's a carnivore in this world.
Yeah, like
that.
Yeah,
girls gotta eat.
Yeah, but yeah, she spends her time being like a model, just kind of like trying to live like the good life. But she's also got some like urges that like don't really turn out well for some of like the like not so great people that she runs into.
Yeah. It's got kind of a cool, you know, the hunger part is kind of a fun vampire-esque kind of undertone. And the aesthetic of the you know, heavy use of black and white and red works really great in this book.
Oh yeah, the coloring here is just fantastic. Because you've seen, I think we've all seen in times where like people like try and like go for like a very like simple like coloring method, and like it just kind of like can look flat.
Yeah.
But like here, it really like helps each other, like the different shapes pop off of each other well.
Yeah, and you know we talk quite a bit and frequently about the use of, you know, line, especially like line weight and shadows. And in particular, this book really got shape and proportion really, really well. Like I really enjoyed particularly faces, facial expressions, but also body language I thought was really good in this book.
The expression work in here is like fantastic.
Yeah,
like
really
they're
good.
Like both in like and like across the board, because like there's faces that are absolutely hilarious. There's like stuff where it's just like you really feel like the horror on the page, like the terror, like just like great stuff. And like some of the stuff, like you could argue we're talking about like stuff that should be like real basic, like everyone can like do this thing. And like the fact that we are talking about it tells you about like sometimes it doesn't actually apparently seem to be as easy for people to get down as
yeah,
it is.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times people who are really good at, say, you know, finer beauty, you know, that kind of form and what have you, struggle with the more macabre, grotesque type stuff. This does an excellent job of combining those two, sometimes in the same panel.
Like what I love about this book is it is like at any given moment, like sometimes at the same time it can be equal parts like horrifying, hilarious, and like horny as all get out. Like it is able to do it all and just like make it work so well.
Yeah, and it's got kind of that Elvira Vampirella kind of veneer. And I would kind of maybe go a little more towards the Elvira side where the main character is very aware of all of this.
Yeah.
And so the intentionality of it is not just surface level.
Yeah, like there's a certain level of like her like inner monologues are like kind of like to the audience. It's like, hey, this is me, this is my world. Like, and like along with that, we kind of like start to get like the idea of like where the plot of this is going, like what her like actual wants and desires are outside of like having like a good meal every now and then.
Yeah.
And through that, we get to meet like some other characters, her I'm going to air quotes Cat Gordy. Like, I messaged.
I loved Gordy. Gordy was awesome.
I want more Gordy. Like I messaged a friend of mine who actually knows the artist online, has actually done a cosplay of Lilith.
Oh, very cool.
And I got her a copy and I messaged her like, I want a plush of Gordy so much right now.
Yeah.
So like get to meet them. We get to meet this girl Penelope who may have like an interesting connection to something to do with Lilith that like we'll see how that goes forward. There's if you check out the solicits for like what it says about the first issue, there might even be more going on there, but you can intuit that for yourself reading this.
Yeah. And you know, we have a soft spot for books that are written and drawn by an individual. This is done. Was it last week we were talking about how it can be tough to tell a story with nuance and depth while making it entertaining at the same time. And this book moves right along, but we are definitely laying the groundwork for some bigger backstory stuff that we're going to get to see here in upcoming issues. And that to me, having an idea and being able to make it look cool in a first handful of issues happens all the time in comic books.
Oh yeah.
But
it's the follow-up.
Right, exactly. And you can kind of feel the bones of a book right from the get-go. And this one looks like they're doing a really interesting job of setting up a larger story. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah, liked it a lot.
But yeah, speaking of a book with absolutely gorgeous art and possibly some demon-adjacent characters in it.
Yes. So from something brand new to something new-ish in a reboot of a very old title. So I went with Uncanny X-Men #3, and the new X books for me have all been solid. This one has been great. I'm very excited to read it. Each of these first 3 issues now. Anytime that you put Nightcrawler-looking swashbuckly on a cover, I'm there.
Also, if swashbuckly isn't technically a version of that word, it should be now.
It should be, yeah. I would hope that it's going to show up in maybe the dictionary's new terms being added. That would be great. But we've got a poster of Gail Simone up in the window because she's doing an event up in the Twin Cities at the end of the month here. This coming weekend.
I was about to say, it's just like, oh, that's right, it is almost the end of September.
Get your sweaters ready. So X-Men can be a tough wing of the Marvel Universe to handle. Yeah. Especially when you're doing a team book. Especially when it's one of the top tier team books. And I would say, top tier just in like the most high profile members, right? So this and X-Men are going to be the most challenging ones to do because people have expectations. These characters have been around forever. They've had tons of stuff written about them. So getting them just right, plus getting their dynamic right, and then throw on top of it, you've got to do something interesting enough that people don't feel like it's just rehashing old stuff.
Which I know part of what they're doing with here for that is then like, oh, we're introducing like some new characters, but that also adds the other layer of like, how do you like make sure they're getting the proper screen time, not overshadowing the old people, but make sure that the old people aren't. It's like it's a whole like thing.
I'm so glad that you said that. And no, these are not scripted. We're not calling for lines during videos. We didn't talk about that at all before, but that is absolutely where I was going with this because I've got a lot of nostalgia for the 80s and 90s books where they were really trying to introduce a whole bunch of new characters. And so you've got, the New Mutants is a great example of, X characters that were being added.
Yeah, like the kids in X Factor being introduced.
Yes, absolutely. Who, eventually kind of merged together with the New Mutants. And I've been going through and doing a reread of all that stuff lately. So it's all fresh with me. But, you've also got, like the 80s iteration of the New Teen Titans book, the New Warriors from Marvel. There's a whole bunch of books where they're introducing kind of a new generation of characters. And sometimes it comes across as really clunky. Even like introducing Shadowcat in X-Men and then doing the whole Excalibur thing and whatever. This is just really well done. These characters are so cool and interesting, and they don't feel forced or, I don't know, cliche or, too stuck in just this moment of popular culture. They're great. And there were parts in here where their characters were saying or doing something that was so interesting that I was either laughing out loud or going, oh, that poor kid. Because we're getting little glimpses of their backstory. And this is where somebody who's really good at writing can take their time and not just shove everything at you right away, or not keep too much hidden from you because they want it to be a big surprise or what. Like, this is just really well done. And Gail Simone's nailing it with these new characters while doing a great job with characters like Rogue and Wolverine and Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is awesome in this book. Oh my God. I love this book so much. It was so good.
Also, I think we've talked about, because this, 3 issues in so far, keeps showing up here. Like, David Marquez's art, just like absolutely gorgeous. Like, God, like they're, if you haven't seen the most recent solicits in December, they've got like a little crossover with the main X book coming up, and one of his covers is like a cool little like Marvel vs. Capcom homage, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Like, the man is just top of his game.
So good, and this combo on this book is just. I have no notes for improvement on the first 3 issues. They are great. The whole Hag thing is super interesting. We get another glimpse of Xavier, which in the last issue we had a nice flashback to kind of set up who this villain is that we're running into now. Rogue is so good in this book. The part about milking the cow had me laughing out loud. Like, I just pick up this book. It's really good. It's really, really good. And I know, the high profile superhero books for some people aren't, really what they're looking for. They're looking for something more like Lilith, which we definitely have lots of choices as far as that goes. But there are, even if you're not a big superhero, capes and tights kind of person, there are a number of books that are really good to read just because they're just good, human stories. And this one connects really well. So anyway, all right, well, on to another book that we have picked a number of times.
The least surprising thing that could be up here, I think, have we done every issue?
I'm pretty sure. It's at the very least, we can say this is the reigning champion.
Yeah, like at most we've missed like maybe an issue on here. But like,
I don't think that we have, though.
I don't think we have either.
I think we picked every one.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a reason, because if you can tell from how often we tend to like sell out of copies, Ultimate Spider-Man continues to be one of, if not like the best book that Marvel's putting out this entire year. Like,
so I was talking to Ryan, who helps me grade comics and helps manage all of our back issues and everything. And last night at Comic Club, so on Tuesday nights around 4:00, we have a group of people who show up casually to, just check to see what the new releases are going to be the next day. If they want to be able to have an issue set aside for them, they can do that. We don't flip through books because that's verboten. But we also talk a bit about, movies and musics and a lot about comic books. And so Troy and I at Comic Club last night were raving about Ultimate Spider-Man. And Ryan is in the process of kind of being more selective in what he's subscribing to right now. But he's a big Spider-Man guy. The current run of Amazing isn't really doing it for him. And we were like, man, if you want...
Oh, has he not been reading this?
He hasn't. Can you believe that?
I'm actually shocked.
Me too.
I consider him a man of taste. And he's just leaving this on the floor.
Well, and so the perspective, is I was telling him like, oh, we're doing twice as many subscriptions for this as we are for Amazing Spider-Man proper or Batman. And he was blown away. He's like, to issue 9, you still have double what... Like, that's crazy. It is crazy because Amazing Spider-Man and Batman worldwide are the best-selling titles. So, for Ultimate Spider-Man to be, 9 issues in and we still have double the number of subscriptions, and that's before we're even talking about copies sold off the shelf.
We are easily doing more than double the sales.
And the reason is that once people get reading it, they're not wanting to stop.
Yeah. And this issue is another great example of it. We're like basically right in the middle now of the current arc, which is after their failed attempt to try to take down the Kingpin in the first arc, he's just like, hey, what if I have all my friends like have a shot at taking these guys out instead? So we get this universe's version of the Sinister Six, who are basically just like kind of like their own little mini Kingpins of the different like boroughs of New York, which I love playing it like that. Like,
yeah, it's really cool.
It's such a fun way to do it. And this issue, we've got one of them, this world's Black Cat, who is very different from what we're used to seeing with that.
Yeah.
Takes their shot at them, and things get very messy very quick. Like
it was super cool because we keep getting these moments between there's kind of 3 different groups of couples that are friends that are fun dynamics to watch. So we've talked about Uncle Ben and J. Jonah Jameson are starting a newspaper together, and they're hanging out in a bar.
Everything with them is great. I mean, everything with them is always great, but this issue, like their whole interaction with MJ about it is so fantastic.
Yeah, it's oh my gosh, and she comes in and just drops a truth bomb on them that she's like, "Oh, you guys are sitting here moping, and this is what's actually happening," and they're like, hey, she's right.
Now we can be happy drunk instead of sad drunk.
They're great. And then MJ and Gwen are starting to get that, where they've got kind of this fun. They're a half a step removed from both the paper that Jameson and Ben are working on. They're a half a step removed from the superheroing that their husbands are doing. So they're kind of overseeing all of this, but they're removed enough to be really practical in their assessments of what's happening. And so those interactions are really fun. And then Peter and Harry. They're
so fun here. Like they're like it's weird because like you definitely can see like why like before all this happened these guys probably wouldn't have been friends, and like now they're like thrust in this world that they don't really like understand yet.
Yeah.
And just like how they're trying to make sense of it together, and it's been so fun to watch them like try and find their places.
And they're so totally different. They're wired differently. Their moral compasses are slightly off from each other.
Yeah, we're definitely starting to see like where those like threads are diverging. Like it.
But they still everybody's had this, right? Where you meet somebody and you just feel like, are we sure we haven't known each other for a lot longer?
Yeah.
Like, did we just become best friends? That magic, that chemistry is definitely happening there for those two. Even when they're disagreeing on something, they're still building stronger bonds. And the whole interaction with the new suit and everything. So I wasn't sure about, what was this, 3 or 4 issues ago now? Peter got to pick a personality for his AI in his suit.
And like, because with Harry's, it was very clear how that was going to go south right away. With Peter's, it's just like, okay, what's going to happen with this? So
he has these great private conversations with the suit about the new suit that has yet to be unveiled. It was so hilarious. Like, because when they did the whole like, oh, they're going to be talking to the AI, I was like, really? This is something that we're going to do?
Yeah.
But like, have no fear, Hickman is here, and whatever ideas he comes up with, it's going to end up being executed really well. So I feel like I'm fawning this week, but
I mean, there's a lot to fawn over again, and like I mentioned before, like the new Black Cat, like is like it's interesting because there's definitely like some level of the playfulness that you're used to having with that character, but also like much more of a menace of just like, oh, they could die here. Like
absolutely, it was kind of fun because when I was reading it, I was like, man, he's got kind of some elements of '90s chase, in his persona that made it really fun. Like there's kind of that, let's take a risk, let's gamble, let's see how this goes kind of thing, and kind of a devil may care kind of attitude.
And considering how the dice roll goes for him, like it's going to be very interesting to see like what happens next, because like what happens, I don't think anyone else was probably anticipating, so that they're going to have to like calculate like how they're going to react.
Yeah,
like,
I'm guessing this means that there's going to be a new iteration of a Black Cat showing.
possibly.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Mhm.
Well, speaking of fawning over stuff, it was really a massive week of a ton of stuff to be able to read. Last night I was saying I thought it was the biggest week that we'd had, but now that I see it up on the wall, I can see that we're about this far away from having been the
It's pretty
biggest
close
week.
though.
But there's also a ton of graphic novels and a bunch of really good variant covers.
Mhm.
So what almost made the list for you?
Let's see. For me, a couple of the good ones were final issue of Ron V's Detective Run came out this week.
Yeah.
Ended in style. Like, that's a run that honestly every issue could have been up here. For me, outside of probably Ultimate Spider-Man, it's probably the closest to like being the like my main pick that's been up here. I love how it ends, especially like the way that it ends is very much a like the adventure goes on kind of way. Like
Sure.
not everything gets wrapped up, but like in a way where it's just like that's just how life is. Like you don't get to solve all your problems.
Yeah, sometimes too neat of a bow on a story is almost frustrating.
Like it's so satisfying, just the way that everything just kind of caps off. Otherwise, there was, what was it, the Manchurian? So
oh yeah,
yeah,
I didn't check that one out. But
that one's actually interesting because technically, so it's a mini series, but each issue is technically like a pilot issue for like a new ongoing potentially. So like each one's going to have like a different creative team. This one is kind of doing a spin on like a Chinese James Bond. Like what exactly is that? Like how is it different from like how we traditionally think of like a secret agent character?
Interesting.
I'm super excited for the next issue. It's going to be kind of like a horror like John Constantine style book. So that one looks super cool to me.
Yeah.
But those were definitely up there for me. What about you?
Yeah, well, Lilith was very close to being my pick as well, but probably obvious from our conversation about it. Phoenix continues to be really good. I thought Wolverine, the Hickman Wolverine, Wolverine's Revenge, is that what it's?
I think so. What?
Well, just Wolverine Revenge.
Yeah.
That one was really good too. It's kind of so the first issue, we kind of jump out to a lot of action, and this issue is kind of more like, okay, so now that the
world.
big problem has been put in front of us, and there's this great interaction between Nick Fury and Logan at the beginning of the book that was just really cool, because I really like all the times, and this is outside of 616 continuity, but I just really like all the times that Logan and Fury interact, because they're both so old and they've both seen so much terrible stuff that, like they're kind of grizzled old guys having a conversation about how badly everything went, and then we get to see some characters that I also like. So yeah, it was a really good week of a bunch of good stuff. I feel like everything that I read, I put it down and said that was good. I enjoyed that. So
yeah, and speaking of new books, the previews for December have come out.
Dropped today.
So you can see all the good stuff that's coming. Then a bunch of like DC's got like the New Gods book, Metamorpho, Challengers of the Unknown, like all like these like real classic things that just haven't had a book in forever and are like getting like real high profile talent thrown.
Isn't Al Ewing on Metamorpho?
Yeah, Al Ewing. His first ongoing DC book is going to be Metamorpho, and I'm so excited for it.
That's so crazy.
It's like Ram V and I think Calvin Eagle is his name, but like the team that did Dawn Runner, New Gods, they've been putting out some like art for that recently.
That's going to be great.
Gorgeous.
Going to kill that.
Yeah.
We've got Mark Waid and Chris Samney on Batman and Robin Year One is coming out.
I think that's actually starting next month.
Yeah.
So get signed up for that.
Yes, I just did the final order cutoff for it this past Monday. So going to be a ton of good stuff. Also we cannot forget that you need to get in here on Saturday, October 5th, because Brent Schoonover, Twin Cities comic artist and graphic artist extraordinaire, is going to be here in the store. This week is the last of his variant covers with Dick Tracy number 5. So we've been picking up lots of extra issues of that, so people can get those signed or what have you. He's got, great stories about being in the industry.
Mhm.
He's worked with a lot of different creators. His work is just awesome. Be sure to check out his website. We'll have the link in the comments in the video here. Because you can get commissions from him ahead of time, and then he'll bring them. They're really reasonable.
Oh yeah.
As far as price goes for getting original art, and I just, if you've been to my office at my house or here at the store, you'll see that I really like original art because unlike this comic that they've printed, a couple 100,000 copies of or whatever, that one is a one of a kind.
Yeah, like it is for you forever.
And you're directly supporting an artist, so that's always good. So be sure to check out the website, and it's got contact information to be able to order so that you can have Brent bring it down here with him, and you can pick it up on that Saturday. If not, at that time, you'll be able to also, he'll be doing remarks and quick sketches and whatever, but he's got full page ones for very reasonably priced, so I highly recommend checking those out. Yeah. And then, we're almost into October and some of the spooky season. So, Batman Long Halloween and all of that. We talked about how DC does a good job of lining up their holidays. So all kinds of good stuff around the corner. So we will be back next week with more picks. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, comment, check out the website, check out the app. Get into the store here, whichever way that it takes for you to make sure that you don't miss out on comic books that you're wanting to read. Let us know what you're enjoying. And like I said, we'll be back next week with more picks. Until then, enjoy the reading. Wah, wah.